Welcome to Live with Hillsdale Hospital. I'm your host, JJ Hodshire, President and Chief Executive Officer, and today is October 30th, one day before Halloween. Now, do you have all the Halloween costumes bought and all that? Nothing?
No, I'm not prepared this year.
So you have littles,
No, I do not.
but they're like 18 and 23.
They're like 20 and 15.
Are they 20 and 15?
Yeah.
So the 15-year-old does not do trick-or-treating anymore, right?
No trick-or-treating.
No friends over for parties or nothing like that?
Oh, that's likely, but
That's likely,
probably no
but you won't
dressing
get
up.
invited.
No.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, it's great to have you on the eve of Halloween to talk us about something that's not scary. It's actually something that's very important and something that's very good for us in our hospital. A recent transition that we've made that we're going to talk about as it relates to radiologists that our community needs to know. We have been working very diligently to bring here. We're going to talk about that in just one moment. But before we do, Jamie Caldwell, great to have you back in the studio.
Thank you.
You've been here on 3 or 4 other occasions. You've been on our podcast, and we've talked about a lot of important things as it relates to service delivery from radiology, ranging from PET scan, ranging from MRIs, CT, and the host of all the other things you do in between. Tens of thousands of patients that walk through our door every year to utilize your services. One of the widely used services at our hospital in general is radiology. Whether it's the emergency department at 3 in the morning, or whether it's the scheduled routine that a physician requires and requests through an order for their patient, you're there serving the patient population. Most recently, we've had a little delay in care over the course of the last year. And that was because of the radiologist team that we had here in the interim period. We're going to talk about how we're back in business and how things are moving along very nicely. But before we do that, for the listeners who may not know you, why don't you give us a little bit about your background, education, how long have you been at Hillsdale, and what do you do?
Sure. Well, I started here 24 years ago. Started as an X-ray student, so I was hired in as an assistant.
This must be an elementary student then, when you were just an elementary? No?
Yeah, because I'm so young.
Yes, exactly.
And became a registered X-ray tech, and then over the course of time and training here, I became registered CT, registered MRI, and then eventually came into the radiology management position here.
Now, so you were at Jackson College?
Kellogg
College.
I'm kind of a lone ranger around here.
Because most
Jackson.
of them, Jackson. And Jackson, do they still afford that program? Is it still available?
We house students from Jackson College for ultrasound and X-ray both.
Very good. And you have a very robust team.
Yes.
34 employees, so it's a very large department, 24/7 practically, and so you have to be, and a very talented team. You've been through a lot. You've led a lot of significant initiatives over the course of your management. One of those we've just completed recently, which was the implementation of new radiologist team. So why don't you give us a little update on what we've done and why the change?
Okay. So we brought back Premier Radiology. For those of you who may remember their services, we had them here previously from 2009 to 2024. At the time, they ended their services here in 2024, and we had to find a new radiology group. Was a feat in itself. It was terrible.
And they ended it on their own because they were going to disband. And they were all going their separate ways, Florida and other places. And so it wasn't that we wanted that, because they were a wonderful group. We even tried to keep them, but unfortunately it just wasn't possible with just one small hospital. So we had them, and then they said that they had to leave us. You spent, I know, at least 26. You looked at
27
radiology groups from throughout the country. And you vetted every one of those. And it was not looking promising.
No, because we were running into things like they would never come on site, which would affect our ability to provide certain services for patients. It was 100% teleradiology, or the cost of having them was crazy expensive. And so we made a decision that fit all of our needs that we needed
at the time.
But it just ended where the group that we had here, it was too much work for the few radiologists that were in that group.
I think when we started out in the relationship, they were somewhat local, Toledo based, and we thought, okay, they had a plan to
Yep.
hire additional radiologists. Well, there's a radiologist shortage in this country.
Yes,
And
and
so-
still is.
It still is. Good luck finding radiologists. So what they anticipated that they would be able to do, they were not able to do
Correct.
because they couldn't hire the staff necessary. And in doing that, we fell behind.
We saw significant delays for our patients in getting results. Significant delays, and that's not how we operate here.
It isn't. Well, for over a decade, almost 2 decades, we didn't operate that way.
No.
And so even any interruption, even a year, which is significant, was a challenge for us because we heard from community members, providers, and we knew 6 months into it that we had to make another change.
Correct.
And so we started that process again of asking, can we get those radiologists here? You can't. What do we need to do to get a group here that can meet the needs of our patients? Now, many of our patients and community members were upset.
Very upset.
You fielded a lot of calls.
Mhm.
I fielded a lot of text messages and calls. And our physicians weren't happy
No.
because turnaround times were slow. So for our listeners today, tell us who we're back with and what can we expect from this group.
So we are back with Premier Radiology, which was the group that we had here previously. They are a subspecialized group, so we have radiologists within that group that specialize specifically in neuro, specifically in body, specifically in MSK, which gives us phenomenal reads, very
Absolutely.
detailed reports. And you should expect to see all reports pretty much within 24 to 48
24
hours.
to 48. Now, there were periods of time where it'd be weeks
Weeks.
before we got those results back.
Mm-hmm.
And we apologize for that. It was never, ever in any of the prospectus, ever thought that we would see 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even 4 weeks turnaround times on exams. And so we owe an apology for that because we're responsible. And we're responsible for managing the vendors. And we took care of that, and now we have a great team in place. Mammograms, I mean, those are almost immediately turned around.
Those are completely caught up at this moment. I think
Caught
when I looked yesterday, there were only a handful, and they were from that day waiting to be read. So everything is caught up.
So what can a patient expect? They come in for, their physician writes them for a CT, they come in. What can be the expectation for that turnaround time?
That they come in and they have their exam, and everything is provided to the radiologist immediately after the exam is done. And of course, anything urgent from the ER, things like that, come first. But Premier Radiology has assured us that they will have reports returned within 24 to 48 hours.
Yep.
So,
And we've seen it. I mean, we got a text message on Sunday from their chief radiologist that said, we're caught up. And that took a lot to do that.
Yep, on mammography.
Yep. And talk to us about the team of radiologists. Talk about them. Because it's not just one or two.
No.
It's diversity.
Yeah, there's 8 of them. There's 8 radiologists,
Yeah.
and as I mentioned, they're all subspecialized in something. So that provides for very, very detailed quality
Yeah.
reports for our patients,
Yeah.
which in turn affects, what your treatment plan looks
That's
like
right.
after a diagnosis.
Yeah, let's talk about the quality because that's an important piece. Now, any radiologist can read. A radiologist can give us a summary report, and they do, and put on there their diagnosis. But then some radiologists go even a step further, and it's called recommendations.
Yes.
And this group does a very good job at putting really a piece about it for the patient of saying, okay, this was discovered. This should be the next step.
Right.
Talk to us about how that process works.
Yeah, so when they read exams, they provide recommendations to your provider that ordered your test. Your provider always has the choice, if they want to follow those recommendations or follow other guidelines.
Yeah.
But those recommendations are crucial to ensure that you get the proper diagnosis and we know what we need to have for treatment.
Yeah.
So
And follow-up's important, right, for
Very
some of
follow-
these tests. And we didn't necessarily see that a year ago.
No.
But getting back to that is very important because then it gives some conclusion to patients and then some hope of, okay, what's next, other than just having that report and having it be weeks late. So we can expect that. Now, let's move beyond that because it's great to have Premier back.
Yep.
They're going to do a phenomenal job. They've already done it. They've cleaned up the MAMs. They have a 24 to 48 hour turnaround, better than what some industries are right now in some hospitals.
hands down.
Because we know actually tracking what our previous group did was actually almost the standard anymore. I mean, we had our PA tell us that they were waiting for weeks at a big metropolitan hospital.
Correct.
So we know that that backlog exists. However, this group, we weren't experiencing that because they're so phenomenal. 8 radiologists who are from pediatric to orthopedic to, you name it, vascular, they're specialized. And that is important for quality of reads and completion. Okay, so we move beyond that. Now we talk about, what does your department do beyond that? I mean, yeah, we have radiologists, but on a day-to-day basis, what type of services do you provide our community?
Sure. So many of you have probably been in our department having services, and in addition to x-ray, because most people think radiology, they think general x-ray, but there's also CT, MRI, PET scan, nuclear medicine, mammography, ultrasound, echocardiography, DEXA scans. We have a wide variety.
All right, before we jump into that, let's take a little bit of a break here and ask this question, because I hear a lot of people say, well, my provider said I should go to this location to get my x-rays or my MAM or this. But patients, consumers have choices. They can choose Hillsdale
Absolutely.
over whatever's being recommended. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so we see patients often with that scenario. Maybe they're seeing a specialist for a service that may not be provided in the area, and that provider wants them to have particular testing. And of course, the provider will want them to have it, in Ann Arbor or wherever else they're seeing this provider, but the patient can have it here as long as it's a service that we offer.
Yeah. I think it's oftentimes we see this with the tertiary hospitals, the big systems, who say, oh, no, you need to stay within our system. But that is not a requirement for the patient. The patient has a choice.
Correct.
So if you're listening today and you're getting care that we may not be able to offer with a specialty service, and as a result of that, they require blood testing or additional testing through radiology or whatever it is, you have a choice and a right to utilize Hillsdale Hospital in your backyard. And that's the beauty of patient choice, is that you do not have to go to that location. So let's talk about that, because one of the things that we hear, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to add something to that. So often a provider who's not local may say, well, I don't want you to have it Hillsdale because I can't see the images.
Bingo.
We have several electronic formats where we can share these images. I referred to a PAC system earlier, which for those who don't know, it's basically a system that radiology lives and breathes in. It's where all of our images are stored, where all of our documentation is done. So from within there, we can share images to other facilities.
Yep.
Not every facility is set up, but if we get a request
Majority
to be set up
are.
If we get a request to be set up, then we can take care of that and get set up with that facility.
Yeah, and the other thing that we hear, so we often hear that, we can't get into their system, we can't share that information, which is not true. The second thing we hear is, well, their technology is not good. They have bad technology. That's not true.
That is completely not true.
Because talk to us about some of the technology that we have. What makes our technology so great? What makes our imaging so great, and some of the equipment you have?
So all of our equipment has been updated or replaced within the last 5 years. And you'll see radiology equipment in other places that's 15, 20 years old. And when we make the decision to purchase something, we do all the research to ensure that we're getting the best technology that we can get for our community, because we want them to be able to have their test done here. We don't want them to have to drive an hour and a half to have a test done when it's something we can provide. So we make sure that all the equipment has the newest and greatest technology. Some of those things include things like AI features, right?
So talk to us about AI features as it relates to radiology, because AI is a big issue right now. There's a lot of folks that support it, a lot of folks that feel that it should not be in healthcare. How does it impact you in your department?
What do you mean, how does it impact us?
So in other words, what are you utilizing AI for in your technology?
Some examples are like for our CT scanner, when we put a patient on the table, we have AI that helps ensure that the patient is centered exactly where they should be, so that the images are the best quality that they can be, because that's crucial with anything involving radiation.
Right. So it positions a patient so you get the most precise, accurate. Correct. Okay. And on the back end of that, those radiology tests are sent through this system. Radiologist reads it. Isn't it rare that someone has to come back for a test? I mean, we're pretty good about taking the first test and
Other than mammography, just because you have to have, if there's anything that's of urgency or anything we find, you might have to come back for a diagnostic mammography or an ultrasound.
Yeah.
And that's from the process of having the screening. And that's a normal process anywhere.
Right.
That's not a matter of the test wasn't good quality. That's
Yeah.
a matter of we found something, let's get a better look at what we need to look at.
Yeah, and Jamie, you have been involved working with me to bring Brian Madison's group, and we've had him on before
For PET.
with PET scan. And while that's not a unit you own in your department, is an extension of you. And I mean, talk about PET. It's an important device for our community. Would you agree?
I would agree. There aren't PET services offered anywhere else in this county.
No.
I myself don't know a lot about PET. It's not my background at all. But it's a crucial point in patients who are diagnosed with cancer or going through cancer treatment for staging.
Yeah.
And so, again, it allows the patient to stay close to home and not have to travel for that service.
Right. Nuclear. Where are you at with nuclear? Because we had a nuclear program, and talk to us a little bit about that and what's happening to those programs throughout the United States.
We're seeing the nuke programs, and when we say programs, we mean for students, for
Right.
people who are learning and becoming nuke techs. The colleges for those are dropping like flies. It's very difficult to find
Yeah.
a school for nuke. So the fact that we are able to offer a nuke program here and have nuke staff
Yeah.
that are fully trained and certified is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Talent pipeline building, it's tough, isn't it? Because
Yes.
when colleges like Siena close or others in our community close and discontinue their programs, it's very difficult to build a talent pipeline. So is your industry right now facing, beyond radiologists, are you seeing a shortage in any particular modality or service?
Not necessarily in a particular modality. There is a growing need for CT techs. CT has become more useful, especially in the emergency room setting. We're seeing
Yeah.
more and more CT scans ordered. So there is a growing demand for CT techs, and it's actually become pretty common for X-ray techs to have to cross-train into CT as
Yeah.
well because of that need. I wouldn't say, and there's still a shortage of X-ray for sure.
Right.
Not probably as bad as nursing,
Yeah.
but there is a shortage.
Yeah.
It's the medical field in general.
Yeah. So individual is having an issue with their knee or their leg. Obviously, they can't just come in and
No.
say, I want to get a test. The process you utilize is really through physician referral.
Correct.
And the physician has to give the order to do that. In which cases would someone have a delay? Is there insurance that you have to work through? Could you talk about that
Sure,
process?
sure.
Because I often hear people get frustrated, like, why should I have to wait? Well, this is what we do with today, right?
Correct.
Talk about that.
So if a patient were having a knee problem and they would go to their provider, and their provider might order x-rays or
Yeah.
an MRI. In an MRI situation, depending on the patient's insurance, it may require an authorization. And the authorization is where you can see the delay. That is not the fault of the provider. That
Right.
is not the fault of the imaging facility.
No.
It is the insurance company requiring you to go through an authorization process to approve you having that test done or not.
Yeah. And that coordination of testing is traditionally going to be done by the providers themselves, their
Correct,
office, right?
correct.
No patient generally are calling. It's majority of that scheduling is happening, but some patients do call you and say, I got an order and I want to schedule it. How do they get a hold of us? Can they put their information online? Is it a call-in number? How
It's
do
a
they do
call number to the radiology scheduling department.
Okay.
Patients absolutely can call and schedule their own test as long as they have the order in hand from
Right.
their doctor. They have to
Right.
have that, and they have to bring it with them when they come in. That's our way of justifying that it was a legitly ordered test.
Absolutely.
The only dilemma we can run into with patients scheduling their own test is that sometimes when we plug it into our system and we verify your insurance, we say, oh, hey, this needs an authorization, and then it has to be punted back to the provider's office
Yeah.
to get that authorization.
Yeah. So we rely on, unfortunately, the approval of insurance companies. And all of them are different. Some have requirements, some don't.
Some don't.
But it all depends on, and your primary care office should know that process and would explain that to you as a patient. But your team works very closely with the provider's offices
Correct.
to make sure that we can get that patient just as soon as possible. Right now, how far out would someone have to wait to get a CT?
CT's hit and miss. If anything's emergent, sometimes the doctor will have a patient in their
Yeah.
office and they'll say, hey, I think this guy's got an appendicitis. They can call us and we can try to work those emergent
Right.
things
Emergence
in. Routine things, probably about 6 days, 5
Yep.
days.
Yep.
Unless it's emergent, then we
Right.
have to make changes for that.
And we're hearing across the country because of the staff shortages that people
Yes.
face, the radiologist shortages, that we're talking sometimes weeks.
Yes.
And we know that facilities that have weeks delay. So you do a great job, you and your team, at getting people in just as soon as possible. The other beauty is you have kind of a waiting list. And sometimes if someone calls and cancels, you will call that list and say, all right, we can get you in sooner.
Yep.
And that is a benefit as
As
well.
long as we have the authorization.
If you have the
Yep.
authorization. Absolutely true. You and your team do a phenomenal job. Thank you for leading us in this new change back to our old group. It's so great to have them back. It just felt so good last week, didn't it?
It did.
And then your team, they're phenomenal. They don't complain. They're hardworking. They come in at all hours.
Absolutely.
They're great people. They really are. And it's such a great opportunity for our community to have this service in our backyard. A lot of rural hospitals are closing across this country. And this is one service that someone would have to drive 45 minutes, an hour and a half to receive. But you can do it right here in the comfort of your own backyard. It's incredible. So thank you to you and the
Thank
team
you.
for all that you do. We appreciate you, Jamie.
Thank
And please, if you've been frustrated with this process, we first offer our apology. This is something that we corrected, and we would just invite your trust back to use us again. If you're thinking, you know what, no, I'm done, please give it consideration. The team is back. They're doing phenomenal. We'll get those results ready even faster than most hospitals across the country right now because this group is so good. That is our commitment and our promise to you. So I'm going to ask, are there any questions from our audience at this time? And this is live now, but of course it is to tape. So when you're viewing this, maybe later in the day, put your questions in the chat box, and we'll be more than glad to answer those. If you have specific questions about specific procedures that we can do, we can address those. We'll get those over to Jamie. We're not going to try to answer those. We'll get them over to the experts. If it's specific questions about the providers that we utilize, we'd be more than glad to share that. But please, 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 we invite your trust back to utilize Hillsdale Hospital. Thank you for trusting us so much, and we appreciate your partnership. It is because of your utilization of our services and your partnership and trust in us that we can continue to doing this. 110 years. It's amazing that this hospital has been providing these services in our community for 110 years. And to continue another 110 means that we invite the trust of the public to say, you know what, we are going to utilize the services of radiology, of the laboratory, of the general surgeons. It's so, so important. If you're out there today and you have a provider that says that we don't have good quality, let me know who they are. I'd love to talk to them because we can certainly show them the millions of dollars we have invested over the last 5 years in technology and upgrades in a significant amount. If you have a provider or someone tells you that you can't have a test done here because they can't read our images, let us know. Jamie will quickly make sure that we can par with them, that we can get them the information that they need. We want no barriers to your care and receiving that care here right at Hillsdale Hospital. I'm also excited because there's a remodel project going on in the back corridor for the pet trailer, and I'm very excited that that's going to look very, very nice.
Comfortable for the patients while they
Very,
wait.
very comfortable while they wait. Right now, it's not desirable.
No.
But we did that as a temporary to see if this is going to work, and it's working. But it's going to be a nice, beautiful space that will provide a comfortable environment for patients and their families as they wait on those PET scans. So consider that. If you're receiving your pets outside of Hillsdale, you can have them done right here in Hillsdale. And we would encourage you to spread the good news about the fact that our team is back. So if you hear someone talking about delays in care, those are the old days. Now we're back with Premier Radiology. So thank you for your participation in programs like this. Please feel free to catch us every Friday, WCSR, so 92.1. Also, our national podcast, Rural Health Today, ruralhealthtoday.com. Wherever you subscribe to get your podcast, please subscribe to Rural Health Today. It's important to support us, and then we can send that message out to the United States about how important it is for us to sustain rural health care right here in America. If you're looking to join an award-winning team, look no further. We have quite a few job openings on our website, hillsdalehospital.com. Under the Careers tab, you can look for any jobs. And how many people have we seen here at Hillsdale that we started at maybe the admitting switchboard, or we started them in environmental services, and now they're managers,
Yes.
or directors, or providers?
Yes.
We have success story because we invest in our staff. We provide education and training and opportunities. We've sent individuals to go back and get their nurse practitioner degrees, their doctorate degrees for pharmacy. The list goes on. We invest in our community and in our people. So if you're looking for an award-winning because we are, workplace, look no further. HillsdaleHospital.com under the careers tab. And don't forget about our national campaign. And when we talk about rural health strong, the importance about rural health is 160 hospitals in this country have closed since 2010. It's projected that over 800 are at risk of closing in the next several years. And to prevent that, we want to make sure that we send a message to communities across the country that they need to utilize and support their local hospital. It's so important. We often get so tied up with big box stores and big box health. What we provide here, I was told by someone recently that this is the country club of healthcare, Hillsdale Hospital is, because it just feels that way. We know your name. We go to church with you. We see you in the grocery store. That's the personalized touch that rural healthcare can bring. We're also the third largest employer, so we bring back to the table the growing the economy in our community. We are the economic engine. So we really invite your trust in understanding and working with us as a rural hospital and knowing that we have to support other rural hospitals throughout this country with the same message, that if their community comes together, they can save their hospital. So thanks for joining us today. It's been great to have you here with us. It's been great to have Jamie talking about radiology. If you have specific questions, put them in the box. We'll be more than glad to get them back. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Hillsdale strong. When you choose Hillsdale first, rural health strong.